If you think about it, in tough times of humanity, if it was the tough times of this country where the blues and the jazz was created, where humans had difficult time dealing with their challenges or may have not obviously been treated the way they should have, and these challenges led to the jazz and the music that was created. I think music at times is a reaction to deal with difficult times, because it's a form of artwork that brings you pride in what you do. And it's something you create that you're proud of, irregardless of what's going on in your surrounding. You are in charge. It is part of you, it defines you, and you're in control of it, and you can be proud of it. And I think that pride in difficult times, it carries people forward.
Dr. Cohen, welcome to From Vision to Creation. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this with us today.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
It really is an honor to have you, Dr. Cohen, because you are widely regarded as one of the world's leading neurosurgeons, with more than 7,500 complex brain surgeries performed and over 30 minimally invasive procedures pioneered. Your work has influenced the lives of more than 100,000 patients, and the Neurosurgical Atlas you founded has become the Bible of neurosurgery, serving as a vital resource for tens of thousands of surgeons around the globe every single day, which I think is so fascinating. And I went to the website. It's incredible.
Thank you.
Beyond your extraordinary technical expertise, what stands out is your deep empathy and your relentless innovation. So you mentioned about how neurosurgery is an art and a passion of yours, not a job.
Yes.
Which I find very interesting and I want to dive into. And your ability to instill courage, not only in your patients and their families, but also in the future generation of surgeons that you've mentored. From receiving the Wilhelm Magnus Medal, the highest honor in neurosurgery, referred to as the Nobel Prize in Neurosurgery, and awarded to only 11 recipients in history, to being named Healthcare Hero of the Year, your career has been defined by an unwavering commitment to excellence and service.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you were born in Tehran and you overcame impossible odds to immigrate into this country.
Yes.
Can you talk to us about that?
You know, I was born in Iran as a Persian Jew, and Iran is a great country. At the time in early 1980s, there were a lot of challenges with the revolution. There was a lot of instability, political turmoil. And our family was looking for something bigger, to have an opportunity, especially my parents wanted to provide a better opportunity for their children to do better. And this is what's great about this great country, the United States of America. So we took on a really an incredible journey to leave Tehran, the capital, fly over to a border city and have a set of guides that we've never met before. And these people essentially smuggled us across the border to Pakistan, to the doors of the United Nations. I never forget, by the time we got to the door of the United Nations in Karachi, we could barely walk. We were extremely dehydrated and really in terrible shape. But the journey was incredible. It was transformative. It really allowed me to make that transition and mature very quickly. I always believe that in life, to really improve and grow and mature, you have to have resilience. And resilience comes in by going through tough times. So I always say, I wish people go through tough times. It's really a harsh thing to say, but it's those hard times, difficulties, that make people resilient. Mm-hmm. And resilience is the foundation for success. I think these days, a lot of college kids come out very well taken care of by their families, mm-hmm. and they really miss resilience. Mm-hmm. They expect a lot from mm-hmm. the world, and the lack of resilience and an ability to deal with difficult times leads to inability to reach your full potential. So I think that journey, coming to really the 7 days of extreme challenge on desert, mm-hmm. that we had to go from the border city in Iran, cross the border, minimal amount of help, support, big chance of losing your life. It was me and my brother together, eventually coming to United Nations and getting a refugee status in Karachi, and then going to Vienna, stay there for 8 months, and then come to United States. It was an incredible experience at the age of 17.
Wow. So you were 17 years old.
Correct.
You know, one thing that you just said that even rings true for me is
Yes.
that when I graduated from college, I was very much taken care of in the sense that I didn't really learn what real resilience was in terms of entering the workforce and the world. And I do feel that because of that, I wasn't as prepared as I should have been when I started working after college. And I had a transition period where like I had this moment where I thought, you mean the world isn't easy? It's not going to just happen for me exactly the way that I wanted to. And that was kind of a shock.
Yes, yeah, you're correct. Resilience is the foundation for success. I think it's even more important than hard work, because how you deal with difficulty, it's just like anything in like a stock market. You grow, you do better, but for you to go to the next stage, you have to almost dip down, have difficulty, move backwards, deal with significant challenges before you start moving up to the next peak. So life is not a linear, progression of success. It's a series of peaks and valleys. And for you to go to the next peak, you can't just go linearly. You have to drop most of the time to pick up. And to be able to make that leap, you have to deal with difficulty, the valleys of your career. And for most people, that's very difficult. I would say most people don't reach their full potential. It's not because necessarily they don't work hard. It's because they're comfortable where they are, and they can deal with the discomfort of moving out of their comfort zone.
I'm really happy that you just said that growth isn't linear, that you have to dip a little bit in order to reach the next level.
Correct.
Because coming from somebody like you, Dr. Cohen, who's highly distinguished and accomplished, I think it's important for people to hear this, because sometimes I think you can feel that if you're not just growing in a linear fashion, if you've experienced that dip, you think, well, maybe I'm doing the wrong thing.
Yes.
And that's not the case.
You're very correct. You're very, very correct, Alex. You got to deal with the dip. You got to go through the valley, the pain, the suffering, the losing control, have to redo things you have done in the past. Those are tough. Those are very tough for people to face. And that's what resilience is, to be able to face that and succeed.
And Dr. Cohen, you originally studied biomedical engineering and minored in jazz.
Correct.
I think I want to talk to you about that because I have several questions. My first question is, what initially drew you to those subjects?
Yes.
And were there any synchronicities between the two?
Right. Good question. I've always enjoyed biology and medicine. In our culture and family has had a lot of respect, because we want to help others, and medicine is such a powerful tool to do so. Being a physician, being a surgeon, you work hard, you're equipped with a great knowledge to help others and transform lives. That's very, very dignified. Bioengineering was fun for me because I have also a lot of interest in math and physics. So it was a combination of medicine and mathematics and physics and engineering. So it was a right fit in college. Jazz is an interesting one because I'm a relatively observant Jew, and we blow the ram horn during the Jewish holidays that are actually coming up next month, and during Yom Kippur. And those have very special spiritual connotations. The ability to use sound in religion to connect with the higher power. And I think jazz was an element that connected me to that very religious foundation that my ancestors have had from the time of First Temple. My background is very unique because The Persian Jews in the part of Iran are the very original people from the first temple in Israel. And that tribe has been kept very much isolated. And therefore, the tradition of 3,000 years for us has been really, really important. And that tradition makes us who we are. I always say I'm first that Sephardic Jew, then a human, then a father, and a doctor or a surgeon. That intense tradition of hard work, values of dealing with challenges and surviving, that has made us who we are for 3,000 years from the first temple was destroyed, has been really the foundation and the theme who has made me who I am today and every day in the surgery. It's dealing with challenges, keeping the tradition, pushing the boundaries, but never forgetting your past.
You mentioned that when you decided to study jazz because you felt that it got you higher or closer to God.
Yes.
Do you feel that incorporating jazz or music in some way today as a neurosurgeon, do you feel that that can kind of maybe help you answer questions that you have while doing research or anything like that?
You know, I think that's an excellent question, Alex. If you think about it, in tough times of humanity, if it was the tough times of this country where the blues and the jazz was created, where humans had difficult time dealing with their challenges or may have not obviously been treated the way they should have, and these challenges led to the jazz and the music that was created. I think music at times is a reaction to deal with difficult times because it's a form of artwork that brings you pride in what you do. And it's something you create that you're proud of, irregardless of what's going on in your surrounding. You are in charge. It is part of you. It defines you, and you're in control of it, and you can be proud of it. And I think that pride in difficult times, it carries people forward.
And Dr. Cohen, at what point in medical school or residency did you realize that neurosurgery was your calling?
You know, that's a good question. I wanted to actually become a cardiothoracic surgeon, or at times becoming an OB-GYN surgeon. My uncle is an OB-GYN. And I love neurosurgery because it's such an art. It is so delicate. I always say I'm not a physician, I'm not a surgeon. I say that with all humility. I'm an artist. Doing brain surgery is not something I take lightly. I look at it as artwork. I look at it as a way to push the boundaries never possible before. And I never go to work when I do brain surgery. It's a passion for excellence, and it defines me who I am. It's an art of mine that I use the tradition of who came behind me. I use who has contributed to date, and then I contribute more, just like the theme I told you before in our religion.
When I was researching you, I realized that your approach to your work, even saying it in that way is not correct because it's not just your work. This is your life's calling. And it's very obvious in the way that you approach your work and your research and the contributions that you've made. My question is, at what point did you realize that this was not just a job, that this is something that you wanted to dedicate your entire life to and really push those boundaries that you're talking about?
Yes. You know, going back to the religious foundations, we always believe that we do something and we do it the best. We don't believe doing it halfway is just adequate because the art defines who I am. And because it defines me, I want to always have a legacy of excellence. Going back to, again, those religious foundations, legacy of excellence is very important to us in our culture, in our who we are. And to be able to define that legacy of excellence is really a life calling, a spiritual calling, and it's a personal task.
I read that you lost your 12-year-old niece to a
Yes.
brain tumor, which I'm very sorry to
Thank you.
hear about that. Did this happen before or after you decided to pursue neurosurgery?
It was afterwards.
Mm.
Rachel passed away about 6 years ago. And I'll tell you, I have been in many positions, thousands of times, talking to patients, telling them for the first time they have 6 months left, and having their children stay waiting outside. And the first thing they often ask me is, Doctor, can you just give me 2 more years so I can see my child graduate from high school? Can you just give me 3 more years so my son can get married? And that immediate reaction you see in their face are unforgettable, unforgettable. It is something that you can never define.
Mm-hmm.
It is something that I say there are things beyond darkness that you can define. People say, well, dying is darkness. I think there are things way beyond dying that are dark.
Mm-hmm.
And those are people who know they have very limited time, and they know they're going to die in pain. And they haven't gone into that phase of life yet. And they have families that they're providing for, their children that they're taking care of. And suddenly this news was given to them, and they're 40 years old. They have worked so hard all their life. And now somebody tells them they have a year left with their children waiting at the door for them. And to put yourself in that position and relate to them, no matter how much I tried during my career, I had a tough time doing it. I almost had an armor around me. To succeed, I had an armor. Because I didn't want to be as emotionally affected, because I thought I would be able to take a great care of them that way. Where Rachel passed away, part of my armor came off. Now I was somewhat in the position, not exactly, of the patient or the patient's family. And that was very transformative. It is very transformative to be in a position, see a loved, 12-year-old innocent girl die from an extremely malignant tumor in pain. That's what I call beyond darkness. And to deal with that requires resilience, requires really sometimes stepping up to be a superhuman. You can't get caught in the daily emotions. And I think Rachel taught a lot, because she was such an extremely well-liked human being. She was extremely unique. I've never met somebody like that. I mean, maybe, you say that because it's my niece, but in reality, there was none of my nieces or nephews that were like Rachel. She was extremely unusual, kind, faithful, religious woman who really made the lives of so many happier. And when it happened to her, I think it left such an extremely deep score on the spirit of so many people who loved her so much.
When you tell a patient that they only have a year to live, for example,
Yes.
and they say, Dr. Cohen, give me 2 more years so I can see my son
Yes.
get married.
Yes.
Is that something that is even possible? Can you extend
Right.
life at all?
We can do certain things with surgery to extend some. Unfortunately, not 2 years. With surgery, we can do 6 to 8 months more than additional 3 or 4 months they have with radiation and chemo alone. But we can't, unfortunately, do that with malignant brain tumors. We still don't have the cure for that. It's a very difficult disease to treat, because the brain is so isolated from the rest of the body. It's difficult to get chemotherapy directly into the brain. It's like a castle. It's like a compound that is so sacred, the brain that's separated from the rest of the body to protect it. The same amount of protection, unfortunately, makes it vulnerable, but not getting everything into the castle or the compound to fight an enemy within the castle. Do you know what I mean? And so when patients ask this question, it's a very difficult task to talk to them. Because, you're religious yourself. Now you have a young person asking for help, and you want to help them. You want to give what they ask, but you can't. And that the way you deal with that disappointment, the way you deal with not being able to give someone such a thing that they absolutely are asking you on their knees, essentially. It's very, very humiliating, humbling, and difficult to even define.
And you've performed over 7,500
Yes.
complex brain surgeries.
Yes.
Is there a particular patient or situation that really stands out in your mind?
You know, there are good ones and the bad ones. That when I mean that by things that I'm very proud of, and there are things that I'm not proud of. If I say I'm proud of everything I've done, you know I'm lying. I would have never been able to help so many patients if I hadn't taken some risks that some patients paid the price. This is a double-edged sword. Brain surgery is a double-edged sword. If you are very conservative, if you don't take some risks, you're going to leave a lot of patients not benefiting from your procedures. But if you take certain risks, you're going to leave a small population that you hurt, that you're going to live with guilt, a big guilt for the rest of your life. How do you balance that?
Right.
Is really the art of our work. And that's been something that requires a gladiator. I always say I'm a gladiator. I'm not a surgeon. Why a gladiator? Because you have to be courageous. You have to be fearless soldier of your art. You have to put certain things behind you and push forward no matter how much they hurt you. And to be able to do that is the most critical aspect of that gladiator to succeed on the field. You cannot look at your disappointments and failures and next time do something different. You have to have that wisdom and emotional intelligence to deal with failure, learn, but move forward quickly. And to do that, it requires a very unique personality, especially when you deal with human life. It is not for everyone. It is definitely not for everyone. It changes you. It makes you at times very a different human being than many others, not necessarily in a good way. Do you see what I mean? But you have to be able to do that to carry on and carry the message and help the lives that need your help. So when you ask, there are patients that were told they have no choice. One of them, his wife wrote a book, Tricia Austin. Her husband had a very difficult arteriovenous malformation of the brain stem, had a couple of hemorrhages, could have died if he had another hemorrhage. And everybody told the family that they have no choice. So they decided maybe not even getting married, not having any children. And so they came to me. And to be honest with you, it was a procedure that very, very few people had even attempted to operate in that area, a lot of risks. And I'm looking at this young man. He says, Dr. Cohen, I want a great life. I want to have a family. Tricia is an ICU nurse, extremely well-versed in what's going on. Say, what should we do? And those are difficult times because you don't know what you don't know. And would you do it, give them a chance, or would you potentially put them at an unreasonable risk? So we did do the surgery. He did extremely well. They got married. They have a son. They have a beautiful family. Tricia wrote a book about it on Amazon that I highly recommend you read. Those are things that, to be honest, I don't often think about. I don't even often remember, but I do remember another patient who had a brainstem tumor, came to me essentially for headaches only. And we put so much effort to remove as much of the tumor as possible. But we put too much effort. And he had a stroke and was devastated by that. And then when he showed up months, a year later, and he wasn't improving, he was so disappointed. His wife was so disappointed. And you could see it in their eyes. And those I remember every week. those reactions ask me, Dr. Cohen, what happened? I tell them what happened, but they still ask every time, why am I not getting better? Look at the quality of life I have. How can you deal with those failures, knowing that you help those like us things? How do you do that? Defines the best of us.
When you describe neurosurgery like going to war in a sense,
Yes.
I imagine it's because you're referencing
Yes.
the mindset that you need to have when you're going
Yes.
into it. When you go to work and you need to turn your emotions off because you need to be,
Yes.
you need to have
Yes.
a clear mind and approach things that way. How do you turn emotion back on after work?
Right. Yeah. It's almost like becoming a schizophrenic. You have to be double-minded. That's what schizophrenia means in Latin, somebody who has this split-mindedness. So how can you almost have a two-personality? One that you have at work where you can hide emotions and do what's right versus at home with your children and be able to be a functional father with good emotions. That's an art. I can't tell you how to do it. I wish. I mean, if it was easy, a lot of people would do it that way, and a lot of people would do what I do.
Yeah.
I think that's something you have to work on. Your emotions would be blunted in general, no question about it. You have to deal with watching people suffer. And watching people suffer, especially if you're a very soft-hearted person like me, is extremely difficult. It really makes you become very into yourself, very shielded, very almost separated from the society, because you see how tough life can be. And you at times even lose faith in the world. You say, why this man with 2 young daughters has to die this painful death when he's been a hardworking farmer helping his community for so long? Why would this happen? Why should this happen? These whys will make you eventually become more and more secluded, more and more reaching for that higher power or almost a spiritual yearning in your religion. And you have to almost become a religious person because you have to say that all this suffering, there has to be a reason for it. And you always look for that, either from the priest or the rabbi or anywhere else. You look for that. And I've had many spiritual conversations with religious leaders about all of that. But it's all, the answer is we as humans don't understand well enough to know what are the goals of these sufferings in every individual.
And one thing that's actually clicking to me for the first time,
Yes.
I never considered how resilient and tough of a human being you need to be a neurosurgeon. Because while, yes, you are witnessing a lot of suffering, and that's the hard part. Thank goodness for tough people like you, though, because the flip side to that is you have saved and helped thousands and thousands of people.
Yes. No, we're very proud of that.
And you've dedicated your life to neurosurgery.
Yes.
What has been one of the most impressive technological advancements that you've seen over the course of your career?
You know, I think it was before I started neurosurgery's introduction of microscope. I'd be able to magnify and work with these giant microscopes with binoculars that are floating, come over the patient, and you can magnify. I think the biggest advantage for me has been pushing the boundaries to do more and more through smaller and smaller openings. When we started, it was all these big bony removals and retracting the normal brain and be able to remove the tumor. I think my biggest contribution was to avoid any injury to the normal brain. When I started, a lot was focused on the tumor. Let's just remove the tumor. It was okay to injure part of the normal brain. I thought my first goal was to preserve normal brain and then remove the tumor very well. And to be able to create or design techniques to control injury to the normal brain, I think has been something I'm extremely proud of. Smaller openings, bigger tasks. I made the surgery very difficult for myself. The reason people before me did it differently, because with a big opening and a lot of normal brain retraction, you can do anything. But I said, you know what? We will make the priority the protection of the normal brain, and we will de-emphasize the difficulty of the surgery. We will make it more difficult, but it's upon the surgeon now to tackle a much bigger task, more difficult, but we require and demand better outcomes.
And Dr. Cohen, how much liberty do you have in making decisions like this? And this is coming from a place, I don't know a lot about this.
Correct.
But do you need to, if you're going to switch an approach to a surgery, do you need to notify a board or do you?
No.
Okay.
Surgery is a very unique profession where I have 100% control. It's not like giving medicine to anyone.
Okay.
The surgeon has a full ability to devise a surgery. And that was one of the reasons the surgeons took a route of bigger exposures, less difficulty, because that was easier for the surgeon. But we defined success by protecting normal brain, protecting the patient to have as much normal life after surgery as they had before surgery. Before I started, it was accepted that if you have brain surgery, you will never be the same. It was just for some reason in the society, oh, he had brain surgery, so we understand he will never be normal. I disagreed. I said that's extremely unacceptable. Every patient should have the best chance at life after brain surgery.
And you were just talking about how you've been working to make these surgeries less and less invasive, and you've actually pioneered over 30 minimally invasive surgeries, one of which includes being able to perform a procedure on the brain through the nose.
Yes.
Can you talk about the breakthrough moment that made this possible?
Yeah, let me be clear and give credit to those before me that operating through the nose is not new. Operating through the nose has been done for many years, almost 30, 40 years. But what our team and some of my collaborators contributed is to expand the use of this route to more difficult tumors. And it's a big deal to be able to remove tumor through the nose rather than do a big bony removal and retract the brain to go under the brain. That's a huge advantage for the patient, but it's much more difficult. You can see there's not much, the instruments have very limited angles of freedom within the nose. So this is really a perfect example of increasing the challenges of surgery at the benefit of the patient.
I want to talk to you about the Neurosurgical Atlas, which you founded. It is now considered the Bible of neurosurgery.
Yes.
What was the impetus for creating this body of work, and how has it evolved into the global resource that it is today?
Right. So, you know, as a man of faith and religion, we're man of the book. Documentation of our history and tradition is important. And really, before, when I started, there were not that many videos of procedures. People read a book to learn how to do brain surgery. And nobody put that much effort to watch other surgeons to learn from each other. And I thought that's a huge mistake. We're missing a huge opportunity to be able to video of the surgery, edit it, and then later show it to others so we can learn together is huge. And it has, Neurosurgical Atlas is really a collection of over 3,000 surgical videos, 9,000 original illustrations, massive 64 terabyte of data. And it's really transformed the lives of many millions across the globe. And we're very proud of that.
And few surgeons in history have received the Wilhelm Magnus Medal, only 11 in history to be exact, you being one of them.
Yes.
What did this recognition mean to you both personally and professionally?
Right. It was more given because I was able to transfer those techniques that were advanced to the smaller towns in Norway, Scandinavia, all over the world. So a neurosurgeon who doesn't have access to those advanced techniques can watch a video. And believe me, with basic skills of neurosurgical skills they have learned during their residency, watching their videos, they can do a lot better than not having the atlas. And because the atlas and the work transformed the lives of so many patients who didn't have access to best care, that's really the reason the medal was given. To be able, it's after Wilhelm Magnus, who's the founder of neurosurgery in Norway and Scandinavia, because he was the first person who did brain surgery and transformed the lives of so many. So the medal was given primarily for the impact of changing the lives of so many.
You just launched a revolutionary medical tool called Atlas AI.
Yes.
Can you talk to us about this?
Yeah, we are very proud of Atlas, or Atlas AI. It's a large language model. It's actually an agentic complex AI system using retrieval augmented generation and many different, agentic steps, and provide very deep answers to any patient questions for physicians and surgeons in 35 specialties of medicine and surgery.
Wow.
So it's way beyond medicine. It's way beyond neurosurgery per se. So it's way beyond neurosurgery, I'm sorry. And it really touches cardiothoracic surgery, internal medicine, emergency room medicine, nephrology, neurology. And it really provides this extremely deep answer to difficult patient cases. We have we launched it about a month ago. We're extremely proud of it. It is more accurate and deep than any other product in the market. And we feel it would be transformative as well.
And how is it that it is more accurate?
It uses very agentic steps and only peer-reviewed data, not just anything on internet, to generate the answers. And because we have fine-tuned it to give priority to guidelines that are peer-reviewed, to peer-reviewed publications, it provides an excellent way for you to get your answers without being confused or given, answers that are not vetted and or can be floating on the internet.
How can people download?
Yeah, they can just search for Atlas Meditech or Atlas GPT, and there will be a freemium they can sign up for. We appreciate their feedback. It's really an incredible experience. We give the reasoning behind every answer, the clinical reasoning, so it gives confidence to the clinician. And also, it is really well fine-tuned to provide answers for clinical workflows. So when you ask a question about how to manage a patient, it delivers it in a way that's very specific to every specialty of medicine and surgery. So you get this significant peace of mind and confidence that you're doing the right thing for the patient.
And have you seen a positive impact from the tool?
Yes, we have had many hundreds already in a very short time, and really very positive feedback from the experts.
And Dr. Cohen, what is the number one, I guess, two questions. What is the most common reason somebody would need to undergo brain surgery?
Yes.
And are there any early signs that people should look out for that indicate that they need to go see a neurosurgeon?
Right. One of the most common reasons for brain and spine surgery, for spine surgery is obviously degenerative changes, discs, herniated discs or stenosis. For brain, the most common, I would say, probably outside of trauma and brain hemorrhage and everything, is brain tumors. So brain tumors, unfortunately, are becoming more common. And so I would say that's the number one reason outside of trauma. And the symptoms are headaches that are very unusual, outside of the norm of your usual headaches that don't go away with anything. They're severe. Seizures, weakness, numbness, visual changes, those are the big ones. Almost sounds similar to stroke, unfortunately, but the tumor symptoms tend to be more gradual, and the symptoms related to stroke are often sudden.
When you say visual changes, I had experienced one time what was diagnosed as a migraine aura,
Yes.
where you see, I know you know what it is, but for listeners who don't know, you basically see like a geometric shape with jagged edges. It's almost kind of blurry. But I was told it's completely safe. What causes migraine auras?
There are some vascular changes that happen in the brain that can lead to that. That's actually a very intense area of research. Migraine auras don't fall in the territory of a neurosurgeon, more of a neurologist. But my understanding is more of a vascular phenomena, a spasm of vessels that can change the perfusion to the brain.
And I read that you've performed surgeries on patients while they're awake,
Yes.
mapping their brain function in real time.
Yes.
Is there a benefit or a reason why you would want to do a surgery while a patient is awake?
Yeah. Doing an awake surgery has been going on for many, many, many years. In fact, the early infancy of neurosurgery patients underwent surgery awake because there was no anesthesia, general anesthesia. So we do use the awake craniotomy differently these days to be able to see and remove tumors that are close to the very important areas of the brain that control arms or legs and your speech. And we want to make sure during tumor removal we don't injure those areas. So that's an exciting way of being able to remove the tumor maximally without injuring those critical areas. But again, that's a lot for a patient to undergo awake surgery. So you have to be very careful how you select it, and for sure do it if it's a benefit to the patient.
For most of us, the brain feels like a mystery. What has been the most interesting thing you've learned about the brain?
Brain is much more plastic than we think. It's incredible how much we have this idea that the brain has these parcels of function, that every piece of the brain controls this or that, and every piece of the brain does something very specific. In fact, the incredible respect I have for the brain is for its ability to recover from insults and be so resilient. Going back to resilience, we talked at the beginning of our discussion, Alex, it's incredible how the resilience of the brain really allows it to deal with insults and recover.
And Dr. Cohen, how do you see artificial intelligence and robotics changing brain surgery in the next 20 years?
I think it will revolutionize brain surgery. There's no question that it would happen. However, I think it would take at least a decade for us to get in terms of haptics, being able to have that finger sense of how the instrument touches the brain and interacts with you, that feel and touch of a surgeon against handling the brain tissue would take some time to be able to develop in a robot.
Beyond technical ability, what do you think makes a great neurosurgeon, especially taking into consideration that you are mentoring so many, the next generation of surgeons now?
Resilience. I think that's a key word we have come back to many times. The ability to deal with challenges and not give up. Do you know what I mean? There's been many times I'm in surgery, we're doing a very difficult case. The first few steps don't go well. And it's easy to back out. So you know what? I'm not getting where I need to be. I can't find the vessel pushing on the nerve. It's not safe. Let's get out. It's not safe. That's the key word some surgeons use to say, I'll put the patient safety number one. Absolutely, we want to put patient safety number one. But can you find a safe way to do it in the face of many challenges? You get one disheartening finding during surgery, another one. By the third one, you're like, you know what? It's just becoming too much. Can you persevere and deliver? That's the definition of excellence in our profession.
Oh, I love that. That's great. And what has been the biggest lesson that you've learned over the course of your career so far?
The biggest lesson that I've learned is that nothing comes easy. And to be successful, it's not just hard work. It is attention to detail, passion for excellence, find ways to handle it and make it happen no matter what. I think those are elements that are very key to success. But as I have aged more, Alex, I have learned that the priorities of life are also important. That's a professional priority I talk to you about. But I think the priorities of family, I'm saying God, family, and community or country, those are elements that are really important. I think a good faith, making sure your family is a priority, and taking care of your community, and being at the best that you do at your career as a neurosurgeon and leaving a legacy of excellence, I would say in that order, are very important for anybody like me. If I had to go back 30 years before, I think that's where you're heading, I would have probably placed more emphasis on the religion, family, and community. But that's easy to say, you know what I mean? At the time when I was younger and you really want to be good at what you do, your priorities may be a little bit different.
Do you think that your mindset has to be that, though, when you're first starting your career in order to get to this place where you can say, okay, I feel like I've mastered my career in a sense. Now I can see the value of having, having that work-life balance that we talked about.
Right. I mean, that's the path I went. I think it's important to have work-life balance from the beginning. But neurosurgery may not be the perfect profession for that, especially at the beginning of your career. So you have to choose your profession wisely.
And Dr. Cohen, where's the best place for people to keep up with you and your work?
Yeah, we have a LinkedIn, Instagram, X. We're on social channels for Neurosurgical Atlas, and for me personally, it's Aaron Cohen-Gadol, Cohengadol. We love to hear more feedback from our viewers. I really have had a great time talking to you, Alex. These are great discussions that allow me to also let others learn from mistakes and failures, and also life lessons that I've had, because it's really important for me to be able to educate and provide others with my life lessons and let them make a decision, like a menu, what they want to use to learn a lesson, or don't learn a lesson, or maybe do it differently. I never say I did everything perfectly right, but I think it's important for us to give these life lessons to others, younger individuals, to be able to use it as they fit for enriching their lives.
Well, I've had a great time talking with you as well, Dr. Cohen.
Same here.
I feel like your insights have been they've been incredibly profound.
Thank you.
If you could go back in time and offer your younger self one bit of advice right before, actually back to the young kid who was immigrating to the United States from Iran, before even embarking on that journey, what would it be?
Keep your priorities in life in order, just like what I told you. Those priorities are really, really important. You have to make a decision at age 17 or 18 as if you're 55 years old, with a family, with your children, and to make wise decisions. The lessons I tell people is walk out of your comfort zone. Take certain calculated risks. Focus what's your passion and what makes you shine. What makes you wake up in the morning and be really thrilled and excited to have your day. Be able to search for those, and don't be afraid to face difficulty, to take some calculated risks. I think those are the lessons that I would have given myself many years ago.
Well, Dr. Cohen, thank you so much for your time. This was amazing. I really appreciate you coming on.
You're welcome. God bless you, and God bless everyone. Thank you.